Welcome back to Climate TV with me, Eduardo Gonçalves. Today I'm joined by the Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Thomas Gass. Mr. Gass, first of all, what is the most important step that governments can take to help put us on a path towards sustainable economic development?
I think they took a really important step here yesterday by adopting the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Now what is important is to actually take that to the national level, to have dialogues with their people. I mean, this wasn't about the photo op. This was about the promise that the leaders made to their people back home, that this shared vision of humanity that they all signed upon yesterday, that this shared vision of humanity is also for them. So take it down to the country level, discuss it in their parliaments, see what policy changes have to be done, see how the civil society and every interest group, every part of society can be involved in implementing this new agenda.
And what about business? What can private sector do to help, for example, in terms of financing some of these solutions?
The private sector play a crucial role. Now, the first reaction would be, can they give money? The main role that the private sector has is as an employer, because the core of this agenda is about eradicating poverty, is about reducing inequalities. And so the main role of the private sector is as an employer. Pay your people properly. Give them decent jobs. When the pressure of the costs starts rising and starts making it difficult to make a two-digit profit, then stay. Sustain those jobs and make it a not just a decent but a sustained job for the workers. That's the main contribution that they can make. But of course, they can also contribute by investing into greener technologies, in mainstreaming sustainability into the functioning of their companies, but also into the discussions of their boards and into the discussions that they have with their shareholders. The shareholders are going to start to look at the future. They're going to start to look at the longer perspective, because only then can private sector really and companies can only thrive, when there is a stability in the long term.
The 2030 Agenda also talks about climate change. How are the two connected?
If you consider this 2030 agenda as a shared vision of humanity, it is carried by pillars such as the climate change one. So without a really important progress now in the Paris conference in December, there will be no sustainable development. But of course, climate change isn't the only pillar. There are 17 pillars, actually, as the 17 goals, and climate change is one of those goals.
So what would your message to world leaders be when they get together at the Paris climate talks later this year?
Remember the promise that they made yesterday to their people, and remember that it's all about walking the talk. And at their level, walking the talk means really strong ambition in terms of their commitments to engage into pathways that reduce the carbon emissions in a really significant and relevant way.
Now, there has been some criticism of the process, that there's too many goals, too many targets, it's just far too complicated. How do you answer those criticisms?
Well, if you bring 193 countries plus interest groups and over 8 million individuals together and ask them what they want for the next 15 years, their aspirations and the needs are more complex than what can hold on just one piece of paper. This agenda is what is defined as the vision, and this complexity reflects the diversity of the needs and aspirations in our society. Now, some people are trying to reduce it and try and simplify it, and for communication that may be necessary. But really, if this is a social contract between the leaders and their people, we better read the small script. And the small script are the individual targets. That's where we have to hold on to, and that's where you have to hold the leaders accountable for.
Thank you very much indeed. That was Thomas Gass, the Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations. That's all we've got time for today. From all of us at the Climate Group, goodbye.